The story in Michigan is a bit different from Mississippi's. Michigan, typically a blue state, has an abortion ban that was passed in 1931, and it would go into effect if Roe v. Wade was overturned. The state's Democratic governor, Gretchen Whitmer, wrote on Twitter that she will keep fighting like hell to preserve abortion rights. Dana Nessel is Michigan's Attorney General. She joins me now. Madam Attorney General, it's good to see you.
Thanks for having me, Chuck, and happy Mother's Day to my mom and to all the moms out there.
And a happy Mother's Day to you and also your mom. Let me start with the decision you've already made. You said if Roe is overturned, you are not going to enforce this 1931 law, but you can't prevent others in the state from enforcing the law. Explain.
Well, there's 83 duly elected prosecutors for every county in our state. As Attorney General, I have statewide jurisdiction, and I ran on a platform of understanding that likely during the course of my term, Roe v. Wade would be overturned, and this incredibly draconian and strict 1931 law would criminalize abortion in this state with virtually no exceptions, no exception for rape, for incest, no exception for medical emergencies. And understanding that the lives of our 2.2 million women who are of childbearing age in this state, their lives would be at risk. I refuse to enforce this draconian law that will endanger their lives and put at jeopardy the health, safety, and welfare of the lives of each and every woman in the state of Michigan.
Look, I want to bring up, it's part of the Michigan Penal Code. And I want to note one other aspect of this law. It actually makes mention of the use of drugs. Any person who shall in any manner sell or publicly expose for sale drugs or a combination of drugs designed expressly for the use of females for the purpose of procuring an abortion shall be guilty of a misdemeanor. The druggist or dealer selling the same shall register the name of the purchaser, the date of the sale, and then the name and residence of the physician prescribing the same. Madam Attorney General, this seems like a draconian law and puts the doctor and the woman in criminal jeopardy. Am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, I think you absolutely are. And if you look again at the phrasing of the law that prohibits abortion in the first place, it talks about administering medication for an abortion. And so, you know, even if the woman were to procure abortion medication and then take it on her own, she herself would be guilty of that crime. So we're talking about not just throwing providers and anybody who works with a provider under aiding and abetting theories in prison, but also women themselves who procure an abortion through abortion medication. Yeah. So it's a really scary set of circumstances for women here in Michigan.
Look, I mean, another instance, the tragedy of a miscarriage. Does this mean a doctor cannot perform the procedure that's necessary, essentially, when you've identified a miscarriage? It seems to me that some OBGYNs are going to think they are committing a crime if they essentially just do what most doctors would do right there, which is a D&C.
Yeah, I think that what's going to happen is doctors will be so afraid that there'll be investigations into these procedures, even understanding that many times those procedures are performed where there is no viability any longer. But because it's the same procedure that you might perform for an abortion, they'll be so concerned that these cases will be investigated. It will have a chilling effect, and you won't have basic medical health care that is required for women not to have extreme health problems or even die. Right. Doctors simply are not going to perform those procedures anymore because they don't want to go to prison for it.
All right, let's talk about the various forms of relief that you and other abortion rights supporters in Michigan are seeking. You've got the governor's, I guess you call it a lawsuit to this, or trying to get clarification from the Supreme Court, state Supreme Court, to, I guess, to wipe out the law. Planned Parenthood has filed a suit against you, which you have said is misguided, but obviously they're trying to attain a similar outcome from the state Supreme Court. And then there is a petition, a campaign circulating to put a constitutional amendment on the ballot. Those deadlines are in July. What is the safest way to protect abortion rights in Michigan right now of those three paths?
Well, firstly, I think each and every eligible voter in the state should be signing on to the, Reproductive Rights for All petition, and then coming to the polls and voting on it in November, and for voting for every pro-choice Democrat up and down the ticket, whether it's for federal office or for state office. But in addition, I have great hope, and I put my full support, and my attorneys are representing the governor in her lawsuit. And I'm very hopeful that the Michigan Supreme Court will find that under our Equal Protection Clause, under our Due Process Clause of the Michigan Constitution, that, the right to an abortion is, fundamental under our Michigan Constitution, even if the United States Supreme Court decides otherwise. But let's make it very clear. The radical and extremist position of the Republicans in our state and all around the country completely contradicts what the public wants, and it really does place the lives of women in jeopardy. Let's be clear. Women in my state and in states all over America are going to die because of this position. And I heard the Mississippi governor, when you interview him, he refused to answer the question of whether or not he would sign a bill completely outlawing the use of birth control. That is not in line at all with how Americans see their rights. And politicians do not belong in our doctors' offices. They don't belong in our bedrooms. And they should not be making these kinds of decisions on behalf of the American public and on behalf of women across America.
I just want to clarify, is the constitutional amendment the better guarantee here? Because maybe you get a ruling from this version of your state Supreme Court, but I assume you don't want to be relying on that in the future.
Yeah, that's correct. I think we need to see both. I would like to see a ruling from the Michigan Supreme Court so that there's not even any period of time under which women are denied reproductive health care in Michigan. But then in addition to that, absolutely, this needs to be codified into our state constitution. And if we have enough people that care about this issue and who come out to vote in November, I see that happening. And I think that both of these courses of action need to occur in order to better protect women in our state.
Dana Nessel, who's the chief law enforcement officer as the attorney general in the state of Michigan, and suddenly may be confronting this sooner than she ever imagined. Appreciate you coming on and sharing your perspective with us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.